This is the Pubs and Pints podcast. This podcast encourages open conversations where guests freely share their views. Their thoughts and opinions are solely their own and are intended for discussion purposes.
How are we doing, Séamus?
Good, Tim. Yeah, good to hear you.
How's the weather over there?
It's been brilliant between Christmas and New Year, and the weather was fantastic. And then no rain whatsoever. Very cold, but now the rain started to come for a few days.
Yeah, it was actually really cold here for a bit, and today it feels like spring out right now. I don't think it's going to stay. I think the cold weather's going to come
Back on you.
Yeah.
Any snow?
We had snow here on Long Island. We're around a lot of water here, so the snow. Sometimes we get bad winters, but the last couple of years, if it snows, it doesn't really stay around that long. So right now, it's all melted. There's nothing on the ground right now. You've been to New York, right? Have you been?
Yeah, I went to New York to make my fortune, and I only stayed 3 weeks. And it didn't make me a fortune.
Were you planning on staying when you came?
Yeah, I went out in 92. I had a J1 visa. Fully legit, applied through London Embassy as an Irish person. I got through, and I went to New York, and then I how to explain? I went doing electrical work, but I knew it wasn't for me in the States because certain things happened, and I says, "No, this is crazy," and I couldn't work there. I rang home on a Friday night, and my mother says, "Our local football team were in the county quarter final on Sunday." I just tell the lads I'm coming home. And then I went to New York I was out for a full maybe 10 days and a few years later. So I really enjoyed that though.
You have family here, right?
Yeah, I had an uncle who lived in Long Island. He was married about 3 weeks ago there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Eddie Doohan. He was a school teacher, a primary teacher. He was a headmaster in one of the local schools in Long Island. I have an aunt still living in Staten Island. And the other uncle, Danny, died there last year, or a few years ago. So last year, he owned all the bars.
In the Woodlawn area, right?
Yeah, and then he owned down in Manhattan as well. Genesis, I think it was called. Or
which places in Woodlawn did he own?
Fiona's. There was a place called Fiona's, and there was the Rye River Inn, Ned Devine's. Ned Devine's was probably the most popular one near the end.
That's still there. That's still called Ned Devine's too. I don't hang out in the city much anymore, but back in the 90s, I would say that the one place I hung out the most was Rory Dolan's. It had just, I think it opened in 93, right around there. And that was a place we were going to a lot.
Was he from Cavan, I think, or something?
He is from Cavan, yeah. Yeah, Rory's from Cavan, yeah.
He was a good friend of my Uncle Danny.
I saw him over Christmas. We were in there for brunch.
All right. Ask him if you ever see him again. Anne-Marie, my sister worked for him for summer. Yeah, she was the person that was out on the main street telling everybody to come inside.
Yeah.
Like pulling them in. Yeah.
That's a great pub. I would say it might be one of my favorite Irish pubs. Séamus Doohan, you're from Falcarragh, County Donegal. Give us a little background. Like, tell me about growing up in Falcarragh.
Well, I'm from a family of 9. My father was from a family of 17. My mother was also a family of 9. There's 9 of us. There's 5 boys and 4 girls. I'm in the middle. It was great times growing up. I always remember just walking to school because my mother couldn't drive, and just always getting wet in the rain. And the summers were much, much better. The summers were fantastic. Springs, autumns was great. But we had 3 months of rain in the winter. But that's the weather's totally changed now since I was a kid. Went to the local secondary school. Then I went to college to become an electrician. And after being qualified, I went to London for 3 years. Then I went to New York to make my fortune, as I said. But no, it was all good. And then I came home, and I don't have any regrets. I started up my electrical business in 92. And from then to now, I'm a very busy person working.
What was life in Donegal or in your area, Falcarragh, like when you were like a teenager, besides work?
Yeah, I had long hair, obviously. I was into AC/DC and all Angus Young and the black type of hat he used to wear and the black coat, and we thought we were so cool. And then we used to go to the odd discos and a bit of headbanging, and football was my biggest thing growing up, my biggest memory, just playing for the local teams, the local young teams, college teams, and then getting on to the local senior football team then at the age of 14, going into goals, and then go to training with larger men and bigger men and the senior teams. And I played football until I was 40 years of age. We had about 9 bars in Falcarragh. That's all changed. Now we have about 4.
Yeah.
So technically there was a great social life. There was music in all the bars. There was people singing. We never had to go to, for what a better word, like a nightclub, because the bars kept playing and the musicians kept playing. It was so much fun, and had a nightclub eventually. Then the local Guidor, which is 12 miles away, they had about 2. They had 2 nightclubs, and so every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they alternated.
At that time, when you were going to a nightclub, what kind of music was playing?
You're giving me. I might give away my age.
That's all right. You got to be about my age, anyways.
I'm not 100% sure. It was just disco music. We danced, and you were allowed to slow set even then. Like, so, do you remember the old slow sets?
Well, what do you mean by the slow sets?
Well, it's probably at the end of the night when the DJ stopped playing fast songs, and then you'd ask a girl to dance.
Okay,
and
yeah,
you'd
sure.
sort of slightly waltz around the floor with her to get to know her better.
Sure. When I was a kid, we had, I don't know if you had it over there, we had roller skating was a big thing. And they had these, a lot of the towns had these roller skating rinks. It was just like a big oval, and everybody just, roller skating. The really good roller skaters would be in the middle of the thing doing all their disco. And this was all like mostly to like disco music back then.
Yeah.
It wasn't only just at the end of the night, but like just like sprinkled in, they would have the slow songs. And then, the guys would have to get up the nerves to go ask a girl to skate. And then you'd hold hands and you'd go around in a circle. So that was the nightclub scene. And now, before you were saying that there were places that you'd go and you'd sing some songs.
Yeah, there was a bar that I always remember. It was a corner bar, and this guy came back from Belfast, and he sang, say, for about an hour, and then he had a break. And after the break, he probably had a couple of beers himself, and it sort of went into then the second part of the night. He just left the guitar there, and people, like, it was local people, just go up and play the guitar or just sing. And then every night there was a different singer on the second part of the night.
How often would you do that?
That was probably mostly every Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
But during the summer, it could be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And it'd be the same singer, and he would sing the same 10 or 15 songs for the first hour or two. And then after, they'd have a break then for 30 minutes. And then the second part of the night was just totally random.
Now, is that something that you still see at all in Falcarragh, or?
Not as much. No, it's not a done thing. We do have music. There's a place there that serves food called the Strand Bar. It's very good for food. They would have local musicians coming in or to play, but not getting people up to sing with them or.
I've actually been there. I've been to the corner bar that you're talking about, and I've been to the Strand Bar and the Shamrock Lounge. Those are the 3 pubs I've been to in Falcarragh.
The Shamrock is totally fantastic. It's a very, that's sort of my local at the moment. It has been since I was young. It's just different clientele every night of the week, and they have music and they have singing circles. And every Sunday they have a group coming in at 4:00 in the evening until maybe 8. People travel all over the county to come to sing without music in the bar, like in the music room, we call it. That's totally fantastic.
Yeah, I like that place over there. I definitely want to get back there for sure.
Yeah. So every day is different. You make your own. You bring your own fun.
I'll just touch on how you and I actually met very recently. But your cousin Ed, who I believe you guys were just recently acquainted, right? Only within a couple of years, maybe?
Yeah, that's right. True. Yeah. I don't know how Ed must have just contacted me, said he was coming to Ireland and with his son Patrick and his brother, I think it was. And we met in a Strand Bar. We had food, and I knew Ed's grandfather very well, and his aunt, grandaunt, Mary. I knew them very well because they lived in Falcarragh. The first time I met Ed, I brought him himself and his brother and his son Patrick, I think, to a very humble abode in the bottom of the mountains, not far from Errigal Mountains, and it was probably an eye opener for even Ed. I'm not saying probably emotional as well, even though he hid it, but it was just to realize this is where his great-great-grandfather had come from. This little humble abode in the bottom of the mountain where there are
Yeah.
only 3 houses.
Yeah.
I don't know if have you ever seen the
He
photograph?
he drove us through there, but it was a rainy day, so he just kind of like pointed because it's actually kind of far in from the road.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you've seen the location. So that's
Yep.
just where, and then he came over the hill, and actually it was my great grandmother's sister that this guy Philip Rorty would have married. So he probably
Right.
came over on a fair day or something over the hill to go to the fair day, and he probably met over numerous occasions met my great grandmother's sister, which would be Cassie Rorty. So I have a lot of history. I collected a lot of history off all our family in 2003. And in 2005, we decided to have a family reunion. And I just narrowed it down to my father's second cousins. And about 270 people showed up.
Well, geez, I mean, when you said there was 17 kids and 9 kids, and there's got to be tons of cousins.
Yeah, yeah. I'm one of 46 first cousins on my father's side.
On your father's side.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, first cousins.
That's great, though. That's great. Are you close with most of them, at least the ones that are your age?
Yeah. There's a lot of, as I said, I've got a few cousins out in Staten Island, and Danny, my uncle Danny, good luck to him. His daughters are still in New York. And because of social media now, you don't have to talk to people. You just can WhatsApp them, and when they come, we just show them a good time. And sometimes we go out to New York, and they look after us as well.
Yeah, so social media has some good aspects.
It's fantastic. Yeah.
It does help you keep in touch with people. A lot easier now.
So Ed loves Ireland like yourself. He just comes and he just has a flying visit, but he does so much when he is here. He doesn't rest on his laurels. He's just go, go, go.
It's nice to go home to Ireland, as some people will say. I have family in Mayo, and it's definitely a nice feeling to have cousins there and feel the welcome that you get when you go.
Yeah.
So other than coming to New York, have you done any other traveling?
I've been in Moscow a few times. I've been to Spain more times than I'll count, and Portugal, because it's just so short a flight for holidays. We've been to Italy a few times, probably going to Italy again this year, maybe Greece. So we try to get a family holiday at least once a year, probably a bit warmer. But when the kids get older, I want to do more, not family holidays, but sort of go walking with them, and maybe cycling, maybe up in Austria or somewhere, or maybe skiing and doing different, rather than sitting in the sun all the time.
Yeah.
So
are you a skier? Do you ski?
Very badly. But I love it. Yeah, I've done it once in New York. There's a place up outside New York, about an hour north. Is there?
Yeah. What is it called?
You tell me.
How long ago? What year?
That's back in 96, 97, 98, probably.
Okay, so there's a place called Thunder Ridge.
Mm.
It used to be called Big Birch.
No, that doesn't familiar. No.
That's where I grew up. I actually grew up right across the street from it, so that's why
I knew they didn't have much snow. If they never had snow, Tim, they could make snow.
Yeah, well, that's the one thing. A lot of people think, oh, well, you don't go skiing unless it snows out, but that's not the case. Snowmaking is a huge percentage of the snow that's on the mountain. Without it, you're not skiing, especially today, because we don't get as much snow as we used to.
That's true, yeah.
Séamus, is there any family folklore or stories that have been passed down in your own family?
Not particularly about folklore, but I always remember my grandmother on my mother's side. This is before Google or Wikipedia, but she was always telling me when I was a child about Colum Cille's prophecies, and a lot of his prophecies. Now, they didn't make much sense when I was a kid, but I was very interested in them. And it's so funny how the wheel has gone around that now I'm actually doing walks on Colum Cille.
Mm-hmm.
And whether she instills something in my brain or thinking about Colum Cille and who was he and what were these prophecies meaning. I was only a 9 or 10-year-old trying to remember her stories, but as I grew older, my own mother remembered them as well. A lot of the prophecies was do with wars that were going to start, and he was on about the prophecies of that there would be a tree outside everybody's house, and the tree wasn't meaning a tree; it was actually a telegraph pole, meaning there'd be like a electric supply cable or a phone post outside your house.
Wow.
There was another part was there would be a black pig coming through the mountains. Was a prophecy that he had, and the meaning of that was actually the steam train.
Oh, wow.
You know, when the railway was made coming through
Yeah.
Donegal in 1901.
Now, so I have a little basic knowledge of Colum Cille, but can you give just a little? That was, I'm guessing, 5th, 6th century, maybe.
Yeah, just early 6th century. Yeah, he was born in 521 in Donegal, and he was actually a very holy man. But in actual fact, he was a poet. He was a scribe. He was he could write. He was a fighter. He was, you know, fighting for the O'Donnell clan and the Northern O'Neill. But his main aim was to spread the good news. And he was educated in certain places. And when you were, as a child, you were fostered out to maybe another holy man. The parents knew that Colum Cille would be a good person to spread the scriptures. So that's where he became a saint, I suppose. And there's 1,300 schools and colleges and churches named after him between Ireland, Scotland, and part of the United Kingdom. So it just shows you the power that he had in spreading the gospel at a very young age.
Iona College is in New York. That's attached to that whole Colum Cille thing, right?
In New York, is there? Is there a college?
There's an Iona College, and it's named after but that would be in Scotland, right?
Yeah,
Iona.
But what happened in Colum Cille actually copied a book belonging to another saint called Saint Finan, and Saint Finan wanted the book back and the copy back, and it went to a high court. And they said it was the first place, you know, like the judge says to every cow its calf and to every book its copy. And they reckon it was the first time there was a copyright issue in a type of a court case. But it led to a battle in Sligo in a place called Colum Cille, and there were 3,000 people, 3,000 soldiers had been killed. Now, Colum Cille's crowd had actually won the battle, but there were 3,000 soldiers killed. And the High King says, your penance was you had to leave Ireland. And your penance was for every soul that was dead or had died in the battle, you had to convert that amount of people again before you were forgiven. So that's why he went to Scotland in the year 563. And he went to a small island called Iona. A lot of priests or religious people done that. They went to islands, you know, like for solitude and spirituality, and it's like Skellig Michael. Have you ever done Kerry?
Yeah,
Skellig Michael. Yeah. So that was the same. They went on to a very holy place to pray and to ask for forgiveness, I suppose, and then convert more pagans to Christianity. So the name Colum Cille means dove of the church.
What does it mean?
Dove, like a dove, D-O-V-E, like a bird. Dove of the church.
Okay.
That's the English translation of Colum Cille. His real name was Crentan or something, or Crimathan when he was younger. And then when he went to learn to Kilmacrennan to college, and he went to St. Moby up, and he went to Glasnevin. He went to a lot of places to learn futures education. Yeah. And, you know, he wrote manuscripts, and a lot of those manuscripts are still, you know, if you've seen something like the Books of Kells.
Yes.
That type. This is what the books that Colum Cille would have written. The four evangelists, he would have written Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and he would have wrote it out. And so Irish Celtic writing is very, very old writing. And when the O'Donnells, they're the chieftains of Donegal, when they went to battle, they had a book called the Catha, and there was about 85. There's 120 pages in this book. It was written on calfskin. It was a very, very holy book, and it had for want of a better word, like a silver box. But they still have about 85 of those pages still in the Royal Irish Archives in Dublin. And the book's brought out maybe once a year, just because it could perish. And only certain people are allowed to see this book once a year. But it was the book when the O'Donnell clan went to battle again for the chieftains. They held up the book, the Catha, and the soldiers believed this was going to protect them. They had so much belief in this book that it was going to save their lives.
Wow.
And it a lot of the time it worked. It didn't work for them all.
So, Séamus, it sounds like you have a tremendous knowledge of the history of Ireland and especially Donegal. So, what got you into doing these walking tours that you do?
Well, it was very funny. When I stopped playing football, it wasn't because I got slow. It was just because the ball got faster.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
I say my clothes keep shrinking.
yeah, that type of thing. Yeah. So then I started, how would I keep fit? So I got my wife one day, Marie, to drop me up at a certain mountain. And I was going to walk over into Dunlewy and go for lunch with Marie and my son. And I met this girl going up, and she was lost, or she didn't know where she was going. So I just tagged along. I hadn't a clue either. And then I was asked to be a member of their club. And I didn't want to be part of a club because I was in the football club since I was 8 years of age. And I wanted freedom. And then I realized that if I did join the club, that they would show me more locations and secret places and secret waterfalls and cliffs and islands. And then so I joined the club, and then I became secretary for 7 or 8 years. And then at present, I'm actually the present chairman of that club, because I just love promoting walking and getting people out and making them fit and seeing the things that I've seen.
Ed told me that when you were taking him out by where his grandmother's house was, you were telling him that this plant is you knew all the names of the plants and the trees, and do you do that on your walking tours?
Yeah, I can't help it. If you told me 20 years ago that I would be talking about wildflowers, their medicinal uses, even different types of geology, local history, Colum Cille, you told me, I would have said no. But how my life has changed from being playing football and football fanatic now to out guiding people on the hills. So, and I love every minute.
And how long have you been doing that now?
Probably about, say, maybe 15, 16, 17, 20 years, maybe. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely 15 years at least. I started off doing for local festivals and groups, and then I realized people were actually happy to pay for this luxury. People, imagine getting paid to take people for a walk. And then it became a business. I started a website just for the fun, and it's still for the fun. And it's snowballed since, and I meet fantastic people. You meet very interesting people, and people are attracted to, like, how did I get to know you, or vice versa? Just, we were meant to meet.
Yeah.
That day, like in the bar.
Yep. And that was the first day I met you. That's one of the best bars I've even ever been in Ireland, is the Old Glen.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
That's a great little place. We did some nice little places there. So now your walking tours. Take me along one of your tours. Like what would the day start with, and how does that go?
It's very interesting because you could actually book me for a walk, say yourself and your partner, and you arrive in Donegal. I don't know who you are. I don't know how people tell you, their own fitness levels, and they've walked so many different walking groups, but I don't know who you are. I don't know how fit you are. So some mornings I actually meet you for breakfast if it suits. Where you're staying, I'll have breakfast with you, and then I'll get to know you personally for just that 10, 50, 20 minutes. And then when I'm having breakfast with you, I'm actually sussing you out. You'll tell me how active you are, but more interestingly, you'll tell me what type of walks you'll want to do. Because I might have planned to go to Slieve League, to highest sea cliffs, but in actual fact, you're not interested in going up high. You just want to, maybe you might get a boat trip and do the lower part of the Slieve League. You might do the Pilgrim Path. So even though you've booked to go to the highest part, as I'm chatting to you, I realize you're not fit enough, and you realize that yourself. So every minute, the route changes to suit stability and the enjoyment of the people on the walks.
I watched that short YouTube video that you have, and there was one walk that you were doing, the Trail of Tears, or the Bridge of Tears. Can you tell us about that?
The Bridge of Tears is just outside Falcarragh, about, say, 5 miles outside the town on the north, heading south from Falcarragh, heading towards Mucky's Mountain. But it's actually a pathway that people emigrated to go to places like England or especially to America to make their fortune. Number one, they were very poor. They had to emigrate. Children were probably very 12, 13, 14 years of age. They probably only spoke Irish. They were bare feet and they walked from Falcarragh and the surrounding areas through the mountains. And when they went past this bridge, it was a turn in the road. It's called the Bridge of Tears, and the rule was the child wasn't allowed to look back, because if it looked back, it would have looked back and saw your mother and father and your friends and brothers, sisters crying. And I don't know what number of people would have went through there emigrating, but you walked 30 miles to Letterkenny, and you went to the Boyle's Bar, which would also be another way out relation of ours. And they had a dining room there, and you got your dinner there or food. And then you walked another 20 miles barefoot to Derry before you got the boat to the US. So a lot of people would have died. Probably people obviously couldn't read or write. Maybe only Irish was their only language. So a lot of those people never, ever came back. So it's very sad. I remember telling that story to a bus load of people from America, and I told the bus driver to get off the bus about 200 yards back. And I told the story on a microphone on the way up, and I told them when they get off the bus not to speak to each other and to walk the 200 yards or meters, and to think about all the children that had walked bare feet to go to America. And I was a bit faster, so I went up and I turned around and I looked around. Someone were actually crying. They were actually, it was very emotional sort of a moment. But they were actually living the dream, or what they were trying to imagine what the child would have been going through at that moment as a 13-year-old child.
Yeah.
So they got the emotion, they felt the emotion, and just when you can invoke an emotion in a person, it makes the walks or hikes more memorable.
Yeah, that's a powerful. I mean, it's history. It's something I didn't know, and that's another reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. Is I'm learning, and then whoever else is listening can pick up a little bit of history here and there.
That's the idea.
So, in all of your walking tours, do you have any specific hidden gems that you really like?
Yeah, my most favorite is probably Alton Farm. It's not far from Errigal Mountain. It's not far from where Ed's great grandfather would have came from as well. There's a beautiful lake down there called Alton, and the house is called Alton Farm. And it was built in 1844 as a summer residence by John Opens Woodhouse, who's a Dublin solicitor. He probably came for a couple of summers or whatever, but he never actually stayed there. It was actually used then more so by local shepherds. Most of them were Scottish, and we would have a very famous thing here called the Sheep War around 1848, I think. These shepherds were actually coming, as I said, from Scotland, so they would have brought sheep, and they are the black-faced sheep, which actually are not Scottish sheep either. They're actually from they're Spain. So they're brought from Spain to Scotland, to Ireland, because Scotland were having the same difficulties with the English that the Irish were. And in Scotland, they would have had a thing called the Highland clearances, and same in Ireland, people were evicted from their homes because they were so poor they couldn't pay their rent. So the landlords actually brought in shepherds from Scotland, but they also brought in the sheep. And the reason they brought the sheep was because they were getting meat off the sheep and also probably wool. So in actual fact, if you read between the lines, Tim, it means a sheep's life is worth more than a human life. And the same thing happened in the Glenveigh evictions. If you ever hear of it, it's not in Donegal here, about 10 miles from our house. Where in 1847, the time of the famine, there was 244 people evicted over 3 days. Even in our parish is Foish and Fuila, it's an Irish parish, Gaelic speaking. It's in the Guiltat. But our local landlord, which was a Dutch descent, a fella called Alford, Olphert, he would have evicted 2,000 people over 2 years because people couldn't pay the rent.
Yeah.
So that's how poor people were at that time. But that house is actually famous for Alton Farm, for, they say, the start of the sheep wars. Yeah, it was very interesting. But the reason I'm saying it's got history with it, but it's also on a beautiful location. You're down at the bottom of the mountain. You've got your little beach beside the lake. The lake is so calm most of the time. And then you've got stepping stones over to the castle which is actually technically only a 2-story house, but it's just so beautiful. Like, that's your next visit.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll bring you down.
It's kind of sad to sit there and think about it, where it was such a dire situation in such a beautiful location. I mean, if the beauty's there now, the beauty was there then. It's just that nobody was even probably looking at the beauty because of the dire situation they were in, right?
Oh, very much so. Yeah, yeah. It's just,
That's
it wasn't about the beauty, yeah, but it's just, yeah, it was very sad times. Yeah, I remember going to the 50th anniversary of the Derry V evictions. It was actually in Derry V. I had the privilege of going with my father. My father, I didn't think he was interested in history, but he asked me, did I want to go? And I'm so glad I did. But about 2 years after that, then I met some Japanese journalists, and I had the pleasure of showing them around Donegal for 2 days. And I brought them to the 152nd anniversary. And there was a great guy there. He was talking, and he was actually standing inside the wallsteads of one of the houses. The house would have been 13 feet wide, possibly be by about 25 feet or maybe 20 feet. Not very big. And the guy started talking about all the Doohans and the Sweeneys and the Gallagher families that were all evicted. And then he said, this is the great granddaughter of one of the families that lived in this house. And this girl had traveled all the way from Australia with her brother to see where her great grandmother had been evicted from, and had so much to say. And when the MC handed her the microphone, she couldn't speak. She had a lump in her throat, and she just tried to get the words out, and the words wouldn't come out. And after about 2 minutes, the local people that were listening, they just started clapping, and she just started. She had so much to say, but she couldn't speak. It was so emotional for her to stand, and humble beginnings where her great grandmother was, and probably to see the wealth that she had, only for her grandmother had evicted. She wouldn't have what she had now. Like, so by not speaking, she said 1,000 words.
Yeah.
I thought it was very special as well.
So what do you see in Ireland right now, where maybe this younger generation is sort of wanting to erase the sadness of the history? I mean, I think we need to know our history. Otherwise, history has a way of repeating itself.
Yeah, it's probably. I said to a girl today actually that she started talking about history, and I never realized that she had so much history. And her name is Breege, by the way, and I was in the local cafe, and she started talking, and I realized, I said, you're probably at a certain age where your family's grown up. She hadn't time to talk about history and books and old stuff. And I think you come to a certain age in your life where you become interested in the past. So I think young people in generally are not interested in, they're just in for a good time. Where do you get a few beers, have fun, fast cars, go on holidays. It's not about looking at the past and your great grandfather. And everybody that I've met and talked to, they always say, I wish I talked more to my grandmother or my grandfather or mum and dad and wrote it down. Daddy told a story, but we never wrote it down. I'm so sorry. And they all get apologetic for that part. So it's probably in your mindset that you haven't time to talk about the past. You're only thinking about the future as a 30-year-old or whatever.
Especially a 30-year-old that is now a product of the Celtic Tiger, where things were more prosperous and they didn't experience what their parents and grandparents did.
Even my own mother, she died there last year. Good luck to her. She started talking one day 4 or 5 years ago, and we were going through old photographs, and there were 9 in their family, and there was 2 left. They were the 2 youngest, her and her brother David.
Yeah.
And she says, do you know what we had for dinner one day? And I just presume potatoes and some meat or potatoes or veg or whatever. And she goes, no. She says, all we had was half an apple each. So it meant they had a half an apple each, and their mother had nothing. And that's not that long ago. So that's the sort of stories I love to hear and to share, and to tell younger people how hard times were, and we didn't have smartphones or 2 cars at the house or 3 TVs in the house, or everybody's on a laptop or PC or whatever.
Right.
So I try to tell those stories.
And that's the kind of stuff I want on the podcast.
You can share that, no problem.
All right. So one of the things we didn't talk about yet was your love of the Irish language. Have you always known Irish, or have you recently started speaking it? It's part of your Irish tours sometimes, right?
Yeah. I'll just tell you this. Well, when we were growing up, my mother, from being from Creaston, was a non-speaking Gaelic place. But when she married my father, when we were going to primary school, there was actually an allowance that if you actually spoke Irish, it was called a Jai Punty. That's the Irish for £10. So there was an inspector come around the classrooms, and he would ask, and you had to answer your name and who your mum was and your dad was, and what did your dad do, and then you got the 10 quid. So £10, or 10 punts, I suppose. There were 4 kids at school, so if we got £40 to my mother, that was a lot of money when we were going to primary school, and that actually put food on the table as well. So it was my mother's own nature to try and encourage us to speak Irish, so she would get the £10 every year. And then we went to primary school. I don't remember speaking English. I went to, a little bit of English. I went to primary school, but mostly Irish at home. And then I went to primary school. We learned both Gaelic and Berla, Irish and English. And when I went to secondary school, it wasn't cool for me as a teenager to speak Irish. I found it then when I started doing electrical work in certain places in the Gaelta, people started speaking Irish to me, and I realised that my Irish wasn't up to scratch. So I made a plan, was actually to just, even real good Gaelic speakers, they never knew the Irish words for everything. So when they were chatting, they just rambled on and stuck in an English word and then back into Irish. And I realized, and if they can do that, I can do that. So with that, then my confidence grew, and I got more confident speaking Irish. And then if I didn't know a word, I try to learn it. I'd go to the dictionaries and I would try to hear somebody else say it. I would ask them, I'd ask people, what did you say again? What did you mean by that? And bit by bit, my Irish improved. And then people actually asked, could you do walks in Irish? And I went, yeah, of course I can. And if I don't know the name of the medicinal name for a certain plant, I'll know enough Irish to explain it, but I'll say the name in English, I might say it in Latin, and I might say it in Irish. And bit by bit, I was learning, and your confidence grows, I said. And so now I've done a few, as I said, TV programs with in speaking Irish, and you just sit there and you're talking Irish, and it's fantastic, and you're out on national television. So that's like an honor to me to do that. We do Colum Cille walks in Irish. It's the 9th of June. We do the whole 3 days totally immersed in Irish, and people come from all over the world to do Colum Cille's tour, and also to listen to the Irish language and to immerse themselves with other walkers that for the love of Irish. There was a guy came 2 years ago from New York. He's Ari Smith. He's on Instagram. Is called Xiaomi, Xiaoma NYC, New York City. If you go on to Instagram, and he's a polyglot. And he rang me one day or emailed me looking for would he know somebody to teach him Irish? And I told him I'm not a teacher, I'm a guide. And he asked, will you guide me, or will you teach me Irish? I said, will you pay me? As a joke. And then he said, I'm coming next Tuesday. So we had about 9 Zoom calls, learning Irish, the Gaelic language, how to order a pint, how to get a cup of tea, how to order dinners, where do you get the bus, simple things. And he came, and he was fantastic. And his videos went live. He made a video of us for 2 days. He narrowed it down to 22 minutes. Driving around the Northwest, speaking Irish, and he's like, he'd done more for the Irish language than I could ever imagine. Like, he's got 6.8 million subscribers.
It was on YouTube?
It's on YouTube, yeah.
Okay.
He's fantastic. I'll send you a link maybe later on.
Yeah, send me a link of that. Yeah.
But just what I'm trying to say, that 22 minutes, it's not about me, it's about him sharing Donegal. And he showed so much of the landscape and the people and the type of people and how simple it was.
Yeah.
And for a person from New York to speak Irish was fantastic. Over 9 hours in class.
Wow. Yeah, I've been using this Duolingo app, and it's good. It's good. I mean, it's been good for vocabulary and things like that, but actually speaking, I just, now I think I'm ready to take it up a different notch. And I subscribe to Molly, Irish with Molly. Google that. She's got some program she's building, and I don't know if I'm seeing it all the time because I log into it all the time, but now it shows up on all my social media and everything. But that's what I'm going to be using. I'll still do the Duolingo. It's not the same. I'd rather hear her say it than a computer say it.
There's things about that as well, Tim. I'm not 100% sure how to say this, but it's like Gaelic is like a language, but there are so many different dialects in that language. There's like a Donegal Gaelic. We would use words here in the northwest, and maybe southwest Donegal would have totally different words.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about the weather and something simple. There's different ways of saying it. I mean, you've got people in Belfast that learned Irish, definitely was fantastic through the Troubles. Both Presbyterian and Catholic families all learning Irish, different classrooms. And then you've got Dublin Irish, you've got Munster Irish, you've got Connaught Irish, with Galway. So it's just different phonetics, I suppose.
Yeah.
So that makes it more harder.
I understand that, but I mean, you know what? In the United States, you got people that live in Brooklyn that speak a certain way, and then the people in the Bronx speak a different way. But then you go down south, and you have a whole different accent. There's different accents all over the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And they're speaking the same language, but they'll say words differently.
So we're the same in the Irish, the Gaelic language. It's great to talk in your own native language. It's got a revival at the moment. As I said, people like Xiaomi come and speak in Irish. The local TV companies are doing videos on people speaking Irish. They're going around schools chatting to young people in Irish. So it's fantastic. And Irish is getting a big revival, I think, at the moment.
Some of the places that you've gone to, I've heard, I saw it on your YouTube video, the Poison Glen. Now, what would that be in Irish? And is there a meaning behind one of the guys that you met him? You met Dermot when we were on our pub crawl. You met Dermot. He was with us. So Dermot does a lot of walking tours, and not with other people, just on his own. He has a hiking club that he belongs to. He was telling me that the places that he goes to, he studies the name of the place, what it is in Irish, and how the name was derived. Can you tell me, like, the Poison Glen, what's the background behind that? And is it have anything to do with the Irish language?
Exactly. Everything to do with the Irish language. There was a guy came around, John O'Donovan, probably 1835 to about 1840 something, 1842 probably. And his job was to go around Ireland to map Ireland. And he wrote down phonetically, or he asked the locals, how do you say that? And likewise, they were speaking Irish, and he wrote it phonetically down. And it was the original name, what they say, was Glen Nyawa, which means heavenly glen. But when he wrote down, it was Glen Niva, a different pronunciation, a different spelling. But what he heard and what he thought he heard, he wrote down. So Niva means poison glen. So they're actually saying it's actually a mispronunciation, and it should have been heavenly glen.
Oh, that's interesting.
All the words, when I go out hill walking, all the maps, the Ordnance Survey maps we have here are all in English, but also in Gaelic. And the Irish means far, far more like Crocosayat, like the hills, the priest's mountain. Was there a priest up there? There's islands named after animals and seagulls and wild birds, and they all mean something.
Yeah.
And it's far, far more meaningful than the phonetic translation that was made from England.
How about Muckish Mountain?
Muckish is Muckash is like a pig sleeping. Muck is the Irish for pig. Like Errigal Mountain, Errigal is a conical quartzite shape, and that's actually the English for that is oratory, as if it goes back to spiritual, like to the pagan times where Errigal would have been when the sun would shine on it, it was actually clear and clean. And then you had Tory Island on 9 miles off the coast, and that was seen as like the black sort of dark sort of a rock, where it was like, for what they were trying to explain, good and evil.
Oh, okay.
So like it was a place of prayer and a place of worship. You know, this was the highest point in Donegal, so everybody could see it, and it was just like a spiritual, like giving a moral of a story, I suppose.
Okay. So I guess we're gonna wind down here, Séamus. There's one thing that I want to do with all of my Irish podcast guests is to ask them a final question of is there one part of Irish history that you'd like to share that you think that it's not widely known?
Yeah, I will tell you that. You were on about the Irish language, Tim, and I think it was 1906. We'll go back to 1906. So three certain people came to this part of Donegal, the northwest, to Chloghan Fuile, is Falcarragh parish, and the Garda parish. And those three people were Padraig Pearse, Joseph Mary Plunkett, and Roger Casement. Now, as you know, Padraig Pearse and Joseph Mary Plunkett were two of the signatories of the seven that signed the proclamation in 1916. So my point, being, without being political, they were actually coming here to this little corner to learn Irish, to promote the Irish language. They started the first Irish college in Falcarragh in a little two-story house. It's still there to this day. It's got a plaque above the wall. Then their job was, and they actually gave money as well to start these colleges, and they had a college built in Falcarragh, a larger church or like a parish hall, to bring down teachers during their summer holidays, so the teachers were back to their kids to teach Donegal Irish. And it was Roger Casement went to Tory Island, and he spent a lot of time in Tory Island learning Donegal Gaelic. So it's a fact that's known. Not everybody would know that. So even though it got political in 1916, they probably got very passionate about Ireland. But their main aim, I'm guessing, in 1906 was to promote the Irish language and dancing and culture.
To get something back that was taken away.
Yeah. So that's a bit of local history. So every time you turn a kick over a stone, you get some history.
Yeah.
I'm actually, just for the fun before you finish, I'm actually studying archaeology as well for a pastime. Just to learn about why certain pagan rituals were taking places in our local parish or local neighborhoods.
Interesting.
To be continued.
What's that? To be continued. We could do another part two.
So I'm trying to get a book or a DVD on archaeology in the Northwest.
Okay, and your paintings. We didn't mention your paintings. You do.
I'll show you. This is my most recent one. I tried to paint because I love the old Irish ways and customs, and I go to old Irish houses and sort of try to capture what the old people had in their houses, and it's all about shadow, the light coming through the window and the reflection on what we see. So this is actually a painting of it's a holy candle and a holy statue in the window and a mirror, and the thing on the bottom left is they call it a pig. There's like a hot water bottle.
Send that to me because I'll put it on the screen when we're talking about it.
Yeah.
So that's when you're talking about.
I'm going to do about 9 or 10 of those, Tim, and we'll have an exhibition on Good Friday in Falcarragh.
Oh, really? Very nice.
Yeah. And there's about 20 in the class, so we'll all have 4 or 5 paintings or more. Yeah. So it just keeps me out of trouble on a Thursday night.
Yeah. Do you get better as you do more and more painting?
It's like the Irish language or anything. You get more confident. Before I was very shy talking about my art. I never told anybody about it. It was just it's just for me. I don't do my art for anybody else. I do it for me, for my happiness.
Mm-hmm.
So.
That's great.
And again, the walking is not about me. It's about other people in coming to Donegal to see the beauty that we have every day.
Well, hopefully we'll have a lot of people that'll watch the podcast as the podcast grows, and we'll try and steer more people your way so you can share that knowledge.
Yeah. And my website is walkingdonegal.net.
Very good. We'll call it a night with that. And it was great talking to you, Séamus.